Everyone talks about working harder, working longer, being more productive. But what if that's exactly what's making so many people sick? Today we are joined by someone who lived that life, spent years in corporate world chasing success before burnout forced her to ask a completely different question. What if success doesn't have to cost your health? Today she's a yoga teacher, stress recovery coach and helps ambitious women achieve more without burning themselves out. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Thank you, Karthik. I'm so happy to be here. Grateful for you to invite me into the space.
Pleasure is all mine. So, Jess, let's go a few years backstory. Who was Jess before yoga, before the stress recovery coach, and how was your normal daily life routine?
2 years ago, I was a HR business partner in Fortune 500 companies. So for 10 years, I did that. I quit last year and decided to bet on myself, right? To rebuild without urgency, but not without ambition. So, however, I still wanted to support ambitious, high achieving women because I was that person in and out of the workplace. So that's how I became this version of myself sitting in front of you today, Karthik.
And when you say that you had to quit, so what was happening at that point in time? When a lot of people say that there's a conflict between the outside and the inside. Outside, you look successful, but inside, you're anxious, exhausted, and constantly running. Was that your experience?
Yes, I moved to the UK as well, and I was working for a startup. However, I felt like, how do I put it? It's not that I knew for a fact that I was burnt out, but I never really had a chance to do a complete deep shift within myself. So on the outside, I look capable, I look resilient, I still able to do the job and support people. However, the irony is I was a HR business partner, right? I was supposed to take care of other people's well-being, but I was already drained by the time when I moved to the UK, picked up a job and just continued trudging on and decided like I was moving further and further away from what I should be inside and on the outside. That's why I decided to quit.
Okay. And what time or what point did you realize that this isn't sustainable anymore? Was it something which was like a defining moment, or was it something which was building up slowly, moment by moment?
I realized this a couple of years back before last year, and I actually didn't wake up and realize one day I was burnt out. It was a very slow process. So the first moment I knew something needed to change was during COVID, right?
Okay.
Because it was quarantine, everyone's world became very, very small, right? So my entire focus was work, climbing the corporate ladder, chasing promotions, going above and beyond for my clients, my stakeholders. And then I remembered one day my mom called and told me my sister passed away. So, yes. And what I can describe at that moment, Karthik, is my body started reacting. Even my mind can register. It's like a zoom out effect. You're literally watching yourself from outside. I can't really describe it in any other way. So it was during that moment I realized I've been stuck in this hamster wheel of chasing someone else's version of success and completely lost track of, things that are important to me, my family and my relationships. So I took a leave of absence, right, and supported my family. And I came back to work a few weeks later, but things are really not the same by then. I started noticing my body reacting to small things, like things that doesn't make sense. I was sensitive. I was easily irritated. Eventually that compounded to bad things like anxiety or panic attacks. Not going to go into detail into that. So I was really annoyed because I have this expectation of myself to be capable, to be resilient. I can do this. So I started like a self-inquiry journey, not out of choice because I was annoyed with myself. I was like, why is this happening to me? My mind couldn't make sense of it, but my body kept reacting. Then I started reading, Googling, and finally realized I was burnt out. I think this was easily like 3 or 4 years ago, back when I was still in Malaysia, back when I was still in a Fortune 500 MNC job. So at the time, I was a HR business partner in Accenture, a company where everyone works hard, right? It's an MNC. So I had front row seats to ambitious people, high achieving women that are burnt out. So I was telling you about the irony, right? As a HR, I was supposed to take care of people,
Right.
help people with their well-being, but I can't even do that myself. So that's why I feel I became a stress recovery coach and a burnout coach as a mission that is personal to me. So that's the story.
And how did yoga first enter into your life? Was it something you believed in immediately or were you skeptical? How was your journey about that?
I'm not a scientist like you. I don't need to be like, this is the result and things like that. I was already doing gym and yoga back when I was in corporate, right? But for a completely different purpose. It was for performance. I was going with friends, trying to look pretty, like, the Lululemon leggings, taking pictures on social media, the vanity thing, right? But previously, I told you about the self-inquiry journey. I was asking myself, why is this happening and things like that. And nothing really worked. And at the time, I was renting a room with housemates, right? And it was during COVID quarantining time. We're slowly coming out from quarantine. As an introvert, I really value my own space. So I would sneak up to the communal area, roll out a mat, and just do my yoga and things like that. And it wasn't really about doing yoga. It's just that I really want my own space. And after doing a bit of movement, sometimes I'll read a book, not anything fancy, not anything glamorous like meditation, just lying there because I didn't want to go back to my room. But I started noticing changes. I felt softer, but more confident. People started commenting, you seem more at peace. I was less irritated. I could sleep better. And I feel like I had more compassion for myself and others. The mindset books or the kind of like confidence strategies that I was reading about when I wanted to really problem solve why am I reacting like that, I feel it landed much easier because I was using my body as a way to learn, as a way to be softer to myself. And that's when it clicked. I needed to find safety in my body first before trying to problem solve here.
Fascinating journey. And how long did you practice your yoga? And what was the defining moment when you realized that, yes, this is something which is changing me as a person? This is something which is helping me. What signals you found on the way? And then you realize that now I need to go out and share this journey with others.
Actually, it was, I think, right before I moved to the UK. I was quite happy that I get a change. I feel like because of this change, it inspired me to start a new chapter of taking better care of myself. However, due to, financials and things like that, we bought a house. I needed to go back to work. I went back to work being hopeful that I'm able to still continue my self-inquiry journey, my yoga, but the role was quite stressful because UK was going through a downturn of letting people go. And as a HR business partner, you take that pressure with you. You needed to sit down with people and say like, hey, we're not able to keep you on the roll. Here's your redundancy package. And it takes a further toll on me at that time. So I decided to, okay, this is maybe the universe telling me that I needed to take a break for myself and also use this opportunity to continue my journey supporting ambitious and high achieving women, because at that time I was already doing like some light coaching during the weekends and teaching some yoga classes then. So it wasn't like a really big click because ultimately life happens. So it was a slow shift 2 or 1 years where I do yoga in the weekends, help people during the weekends, pro bono, or, they paid me great. But I only started really betting on myself since last year, literally.
Okay. And coming now to the topic of high achievers and burnout. One thing I find fascinating is people who burn out are often the most ambitious. Why do you think that happens? And with your experience in coaching with people, where do people miss out on this journey?
You mean like why are so many ambitious people with stress and things like that? This is just my own perspective, okay? I think so many people are stressed because they are chasing a version of success that doesn't belong to them, overriding their own needs, suppressing their own emotions. I think modern culture rewards hustle, right? So we work hard and then effort is rewarded. So we start to equate effort with results and doing nothing with no value, right? So I read somewhere that there is this term called self-perceived burden. You can go check it out if it's true. I think it's actually from a research from palliative care.
Okay.
That patients often come to believe their illness is a burden on everyone around them. And that belief alone, separate from their illness, is linked to hopelessness, even a wish to die sooner. So even at the very end of life, when someone can't produce anymore, that culture of your worth is your output still gets internalized, right? So my question is, why can't someone or us just simply be? Why does our worth need to be tied to output? Where did we learn that from? I think that's the water a lot of high achieving women or overachievers are swimming in, right? And that's why so many of us are burnout.
That's very deep answer. And what have you seen when you see these high achieving women or high achieving men? What are the key body signals they miss during this journey? Because I've seen that you put a lot of reels out there, content around this topic. Where does it start, and what kind of signals one should look at when they are in this journey, when they realize that, oh, okay, I mean,
Maybe.
am I skipping this signal?
You mean like body signals, right?
Yes.
Literally body signals. So everyone is unique. So for myself, because I'm an introvert, over the years, I realized whenever there's an inkling of stress and I feel uncomfortable, my shoulders will roll up and my chest will feel tight. And that works for me. And that's usually my first signal to step away from the laptop, step away from the situation, maybe do some mindfulness for a bit just to come back to myself a little bit. So that's me. So I think when I work with clients, everyone is unique. You might have the same signal as me when it comes to body signals, but oftentimes clients told me that 1, they are easily irritated. 2, they are impatient. 3 is they don't find any joy anymore. Some people are on the numb side, right? They fall into the fight, flight, freeze response. They fall into the freeze response. They feel numb. Nothing brings them joy anymore. Some people struggle with sleep and things like that. Your body will tell you its own signals. So learning how to translate those body signals is very important. And I think that's that is the first way you can balance your ambition with your well-being.
Okay. So first thing is always to really understand that how your body is responding to stress and identifying that pattern. Because
Yes,
every nervous system profile is unique, and every individual have their own ways, and bodies has its own way to respond to stress.
correct.
First
Yes.
step is to really identify that pattern. How am I responding? How is my body responding to stress? That's great.
Yes.
And you often talk about safety in the body. Sometimes it's a little difficult to really understand that. What do you mean by safety?
Safety. Maybe another word for it is ease. Right. It's being comfortable in your own body, being comfortable in your own skin. I think like when I was first starting to heal and find out like why my burnout and things like that, I was doing a lot of confidence hacks, mindset strategies, like how do I be more confident when I present to my clients, or how do I pitch in an elevator and show up to a little bit more suave and chill. That was how I was looking at how to self-improve, right? But it feels like no matter what I do to convince my mind here, if my body doesn't feel safe and at ease in my own body, I will never really integrate or embody the change that I want. I think that is what I meant by safety. It's a feeling of you being able to find ease in your own body, not stress, not tension, not tightness, before even showing up for things that matter to you.
Okay. And what are those specific hacks or techniques that you
You mean
have?
mindset?
Yeah.
Mindset. I think first of all, if I'm working with a client, it's always about the body first, because the body is the doorway. If you are able to find confidence in your own body, being able to find ease and a sort of like, I'm okay with the shape of my body. I'm okay with me sitting in this posture. I don't need to change because this is how I am. I don't need to change the version of me in someone else's head.
Mhm.
Do you get what I mean? That is
Yes.
a confidence in itself. So that's always the first step. And then the second step about like the mindset thing. For example, like one that I just spoke to a client about is it's okay if people are a little bit disappointed with you. But if you are not comfortable with yourself or in your own body, and if I just throw that to you, you'll be like, what do you mean? You know? So it's hard to embody or even integrate it when there's no comfort here, right? You have no self-trust or self-belief in yourself. So that's what I mean.
That's a great insight. And when we look at body-based practices, there are two approaches. One is going from a body-first approach, and then a lot of people say that change your mindset. Based on your experience, if someone has to start, where do they start first?
My own approach is definitely bottom up, right? So when I first approached my burnout, I was looking at it from a very problem solving and trying to think my way out of it. That didn't work for me, right? And the reason why I say bottom up approach works better is because you're literally using your body as a vehicle, so your mind has somewhere to go. For example, my profile is I am a type A ambitious woman. I'm a high achiever, and the people that I help are ambitious. So we're all very active up here already, right? If you tell yourself to calm down when you are anxious, it's literally like arguing with a nervous system that's already on fire. It doesn't work, right? However, when you approached it through the body first, something shifts. And I'm not talking about going to the gym or a fast workout that raises your cortisol or adrenaline when you're already tired. No, I'm talking about shedding the hustle mindset, even in how you move, right? Slowing down while you're cooking dinner, while you're washing the dishes, perhaps. If you choose to move or exercise, gentle movement, holding shapes, dropping into stillness instead of choosing to rush through. I think that's a very different kind of power in doing less with your body. You're literally using it as a vehicle to inform your mind. I don't need to be in constant mode to feel safe. Back to the safetyness thing. I think that's what actually helps ambitious high achievers regulate stress. I think it's a complete mindset shift from hustling mindset to slowing down mindset.
And when someone starts on this journey, what changes do they see when they start practicing regularly? What signs, what are the signs to notice that, okay, things are improving, I see a change while
The
working
signs.
on this?
Body signals.
Yes. Body signals, changes, wherein they feel that this is something which is changing now.
The first layer is probably your breath, right? It's not even talking about you feel calm or you feel at peace. No, I think it's with your breath. You're able to feel like your breath lands a bit deeper. And when it comes to your breath ties back to everything, right? If you are breathing deeper and you are relaxed in your breathing, you will show up less irritated. You'll probably show up less anxious in things that might be urgent, or there's a fire burning. You'll be able to show up with a deeper breath. You'll be able to be more calm, right? So I think that's the first thing, your breath. And maybe the second layer is on the more macro level is perhaps your sleep, perhaps your relationship with others, perhaps the self-compassion that you have. Like even when I make a mistake, I won't be so harsh on myself and choose to continue to push through. And maybe the third level is emotional signals, right? So I would see it as like one is body signals, your breath, and then tension and tightness fades. And then the second layer is emotional signals where you feel more at peace and at ease with yourself. So I think those are the two pillars.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that helps in better relationships, better things around, because when your emotions are positive, the surrounding is also positive.
Yes, I think it all ties back to, yes, great body signals, to better emotional signals. It ties back to a better self-compassion profile for yourself. Right? You don't feel the need to push through because you make a mistake and you want to compensate. You don't feel the need to respond to something just because it is loud and urgent. So everything ties back to being a little bit more compassionate about yourself.
Okay. Let's make this a little actionable. If someone watching this is feeling constantly overwhelmed and is anxious always, what's the first thing they should do today?
Easy practices, you mean?
Yeah, any practice which someone says that, oh yeah, I feel constantly overwhelmed, a lot of negative thoughts.
The first thing is start super small, so small you don't risk disappointing yourself. I think a lot of people think you have to commit like 30 minutes or 60 minutes to see real change. No, I think just do one thing intentionally slow today, like not rushing through washing the dishes, not rushing through making your coffee, because sometimes when I'm waiting for the coffee, I'm doing my laundry, just zipping around, right? So try to do one thing intentionally and just that one thing. So that's just one simple daily habit that you can take. I read somewhere that washing dishes can be actually very therapeutic. But it's not about slowing down. And it's not about the dishes. It's about choosing not to rush through one small thing and trusting yourself that you will get through it anyway in the bigger scheme of things, and letting your nervous system register that you are actually safe.
And what's one breathing practice which is your favorite and you would recommend to others?
I'm not a breathwork practitioner, Karthik, but if you want something simpler, I'm a numbers person as well. So I would do 5 breaths before you even open your laptop. Can you be with yourself for 5 breaths before jumping into performing, before trying to prove yourself that you're successful? And then that 5 maybe becomes 10, then becomes 15, then becomes a habit before meetings or in between tasks.
One favorite yoga pose or asana that you always get back to on the mat?
Get back to a favorite one. Oh, I don't have a favorite one. Maybe Balasana.
Okay.
It's just really functional. It's a good hip opener. It's like if you're thinking about mobility, next time when you're old, that one is a great one because my grandma can do it. So that's a sign of good health.
A little tough for beginner practitioners when someone who has not been acquainted to yoga or stretching, but definitely one of the best pelvic and hip openers.
Yes. Karthik, do you want to do a little exercise with me? I do post a lot of that kind of stuff on my social.
Sure.
Do you want to do
Would
one
love-
with me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, let's do this one. Can you drop your right ear down? I'm not too sure. Am I mirroring it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right head down. Yes.
Okay, I'm mirroring it. Okay. So now grab your palm and then press it on the side so you allow your ear to drop down a little bit more. Okay. So this is very typical, right? But I want you to add one more layer. Can you push your hand into your head and push your head into your hand? So 2 forces. I won't be able to see it, but you'll feel it. So push and push.
Yeah, I'm pushing my head towards the hand and also pushing it down.
Correct. Okay. And then slowly let go and go over the other side just to balance it out. Okay. Push it down and push your head up into your palm. Just 2 breaths. Okay. And slowly come back to the center. Or you're feeling it, so you're staying there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yes, usually like something like this, super easy, super functional that you can do in your desk, or even like just interlace your finger, push your head down. But instead of just this, push your head down and push your head into your palms, and you'll feel it in your upper back. So an expansion in your upper back would be great.
Amazing. And I just got a notification on my watch that in the Velobit app that my HRV went high, which is the body got relaxed.
Oh, really?
The heart rate is kind of low, which is one of the key signals that when we do such stretches and when we relax the body and the nervous system, automatically the body feels better and feel good too. It's nice gentle stretch during your midday work.
Yes, exactly. You don't need to commit to a 1-hour class somewhere or the gym somewhere. I think there's a lot of misconception about that.
And any specific books or anything that you recommend if someone has to pick up or read which has shifted your perspective about this subject, or something which you feel like you want to share with the audience?
I recently finished a book called The Body Says No. Can't remember what the author is. I think maybe it's Gabor. I'm sure maybe you have read it, Karthik.
The Body Keeps a Score by Gabor Maté.
Yeah, Body Keeps the Score. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good book. Very good book.
Yes, it's a really good book. That actually puts a lot of scientific data on why bottom-up approach works so well and how it manifested in different ways if it's not taken care of.
So now imagine you're speaking to someone who is watching this channel, who are successful, ambitious, but they're exhausted. What would you tell them?
If you are ambitious and you are a high achiever, I guess it's because you want to be successful, right? I think the first thing is to get clear on your own version of success, not someone else's. I think social media has really misconstrued this. Like we're getting feed so much information on this version of success that we consume so much that we lost track of what actually is important to us and what is our own version of success. So without that clarity, or without a strong sense of where your sense of self is, you'll get swayed by other people's definitions and overwhelmed by what you see on social media. So the first one is having clarity on your version of success and if this is really what you want. Second is find safety in your own body first. Before the confidence hacks, before the positive self-talk, before mindset work. Mindset is only half of the equation, right? We have two things. We have body and we have our mind. So if you only work on your mind, but you ignore your body, it just doesn't work because evolutionary, the body learns first, right? And the mind follows. So I think if you are high achieving and you are ambitious, learn that your ambition needs to find safety, not urgency, in order to be sustainable in your success.
Great. Before we wrap up, Jess, where can people find you? Tell us about your programs and how someone who would be interested would be should be able to reach to you.
Thank you, Karthik. I'm on Instagram mostly, and people can DM or message me there. I'm actually in the middle of a evolution as well. I felt like I've been on social media for a year and I don't want to be just about wellness aesthetics, right? I don't want to be just talking about body and mindset. These are all vehicles for me, but I think I'm now trying to ask myself questions like, who am I even before this high achieving, ambitious woman came about, right? How did I adapt into this version of me that needed to recover from burnout? I'm here now where I'm recovered. This is the high achiever me, but who am I really even before that? Why did I adapt this way? Did society's expectations of me made me that way? So I'm trying to find her again. So that's me, but I'm still talking to people. I'm still trying to help people do my work, one-to-one coaching, even for just a little chat, DMs, that's fine as well.
Okay. Jess, thank you so much for your wisdom, for your insights. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation is success and well being don't have to compete. When your body feels safe, your mind becomes more clearer, your confidence grows, and you often perform better. For all, if this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to slow down because sometimes the fastest way forward is learning how to pause. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.